Hey everyone, Danny Jack here. I just thought I would do a quick video just to go alongside my new blog post. So if you don't want to read it, you can just listen and watch instead. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about goals. We're talking about a system that I use regularly to help me kind of define my goals and to get them down in a way that I know that they're achievable, as opposed to putting something down which is vague and less likely for me to complete it. I am a big fan of setting goals. I am constantly keeping lists of goals I'm going to achieve someday, goals I'm trying to do now, and somewhere in between, I guess. And I find that if I just put a very simple goal down, chances are it's never going to get done. So I've been looking into a new system over the last couple of years called the SMART method of goal setting. You may have heard of it before. If not, it might be worth having a look at. I'm going to talk about it now anyway, so you don't need to. We can just listen to me talk instead. So the SMART method of setting goals, basically it's a way of defining your goals so that you can kind of put them in a way where you know that once you're actually getting started on the goal, that you've got a much better idea in your head of how you're going to do it, how long it's going to take, and what's kind of involved, because I think that's almost half a battle. Sometimes we might set an ambitious goal, maybe for New Year's resolution or something like that, but without really an idea of where we're heading, it can be difficult to kind of take that first step. And I think that first step is the most important and something which people put off. And once we can get momentum down the route of following the goal and kind of getting that momentum going on, then things become a lot easier. So the SMART method of goal setting is basically an acronym, SMART, all standing for different things. So S is specific, M measurable, A attainable, R realistic, T time bound. There's lots of different definitions. I think other people have different things. Instead of specific, they might have simple, measurable might be maintainable, whatever. But those are the ones I use, and I find that they're probably the most commonly used. So we'll go into each one. Specific being the first one. So I think this is probably one of the easiest ways to kind of define a goal, I suppose, is not making it specific enough. So a lot of times, let's say, for example, let's use losing weight as a common goal, which we all set, right? People will just put maybe lose weight or get healthier. But that is a very unspecific goal, and it's very hard to kind of know what that actually means. And if we don't know what that means, chances are we're not going to work towards that goal. So instead of having something like lose weight, it might be something more specific, like go down to jean sizes, I guess, or run 3 times a week. That might be still getting healthier, but that is a goal which is much easier to define, much more specific. So please make sure that your goals are specific. The next one is measurable. So as the saying goes, what gets measured gets managed. This is especially true for goal setting. Your goals should be unambiguous, and you should be able to have a clear kind of goal in mind and know exactly when you've accomplished that goal. So this is normally just making it quantifiable. So it could be, for example, if you want to write a book, that might be your goal. Instead of just saying write a book, it might be maybe creating a habit where you're saying, I'm going to write 500 words a day, or 100 words a day, or 1,000 words a day, or whatever. And that way you know that you are achieving that goal day on day in, day out. The next letter is A for attainable. We want to make sure that before we get started on a goal, that it is attainable, that we have what we need to achieve it. And that kind of comes from doing a little bit of research beforehand. So let's say we want to start a running habit again. To make that goal attainable, we need to make sure that we have the time to do it. We need to make sure we have the equipment. We need to make sure that we have a place to run, something to track our measurements, all these kinds of things. So that just comes from having a look at the goal, doing a little bit of research, maybe talking to someone who has done that goal beforehand, so you know what it takes to actually make that goal attainable. So the next component of SMART goals is realistic, so R. If you're anything like me, when it comes to setting goals, especially around like the New Year's period, we tend to set goals which are completely unrealistic, completely over-ambitious, thinking that next year's version of ourselves will be more motivated and suddenly have more time to achieve those goals. We soon realize that once we're getting started, that's not true. We haven't changed just because the calendar's changed, and we end up inevitably following those goals. So making the goal realistic, kind of asking yourself, like, have I done something of this scope before? Has other people I know do it? Can I talk to them, make sure that it's actually something I can properly achieve, and what it actually takes to achieve that goal, like what you need to give up. Sometimes it's giving up time. So let's say if you are trying to go to the gym more often, obviously that the sacrifice there is time. You're giving up time to go to the gym. Or if you want to read more books, obviously that takes up time as well. So looking at that, making sure that it's realistic and fits into your schedule is another part of goal setting. Finally, and maybe the most important part of the SMART method, is making sure that your goals are time bound. So what I mean by that is having like a deadline, like almost like an artificial deadline you will set for yourself to make sure that you are achieving your goal by a specific time, or it taking like a certain amount of weeks or something like that to get the goal accomplished. I find that if there's no deadline set, then we kind of allow ourselves to put things off to the next day. There's a law called Parkinson's law, where a task will stretch and shrink to fit the time allocated to it. So if you have a more limited amount of time to complete a task, you're more likely to get motivated, get the steps done. You know, if you think about when you're completing like homework at school, we often leave that to the day before because the time window is very, very small and we're far more motivated to do it. So by setting those artificial deadlines and holding yourself accountable to them, then you are more likely to achieve that goal as well. So I wanted to set myself a goal which kind of ticked all of these boxes to make sure that it was specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So I'm going to set a piano playing goal. I dabble in piano. I'm not particularly great, but I'd like to get better. So I'm going to set myself a new goal of learning a new song. I'm going to learn Ludovico Einaudí's I Giorni on piano. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but that's how I pronounce it. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to use an app called Flowkey, which has the whole song broken down. It's got left-hand sections, right-hand sections, and you can break it down and slow it down so that you can study it bit by bit. And I'm going to make a habit of practicing for 30 minutes every day, no more, no less. I've looked at the parts of the piece. I know that it's attainable based on like my current skill level. I know that I can play all of it. It's just going to take time to learn each individual bit and memorize it. So that's why I'm going to set myself 30 days, which will be a total of 15 hours of practice to make sure that it's done. To make myself accountable, I have told my partner that I'm going to be taking these 30 days to learn this song, learn this piece of music, and then I will play it in those 30 days. And if I play it really badly, then that's because I haven't stuck to the habit. So that's how I've set the goal and kind of give myself a bit of an accountability factor as well. So challenge for you guys is try and make yourself a new goal, and maybe leave it in the comments of a blog post or on the Facebook group, and kind of let me know how you've made it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So that's it for this blog post video thing. Hopefully you guys find that helpful, and I will see you in the next one.